The communism is real. From Bloomberg City Labs, dozens of city governments declare racism a public health crisis. This is going to be torture. I'm going to be putting myself through torture just going through this article for you guys. So I hope you appreciate what I do here, because this is going to make me want to pull my hair out. And I guarantee you that there are going to be numerous times in this article read where I am just at an utter loss for words because I don't know how to connect their logic with any sort of response that resembles logic. So let's go ahead and see what they have to say here about how racism is a public health crisis. More than 50 city declarations put racism's health impacts on par with disease and addiction. Health organizations and school districts are adopting them too. Oh God, Lord save us all. The Marxism has, it's Marxism is the real health crisis here. If we're talking about health crisis, if we're relating things to health crises, racism would be like an itch on your back, and Marxism would be the bubonic plague on steroids. So, on July 7th, Memphis passed a resolution declaring racism a public health crisis, following the examples of dozens of cities across the U.S. The city council vote was unanimous. The language of the resolution draws a through line from the 1866 Memphis massacre, when white terrorists killed and raped dozens of black people, to the current COVID-19 pandemic, where the coronavirus has disproportionately infected and killed black residents, in making the case for a plague of systemic racism. Guys, I don't even know how to draw sense out of this. How are you going to compare a disease, a virus, that has no autonomous capacity to choose who it infects, with the rape and murder of black people, 150 years ago? I don't have words for this. This doesn't even make sense. This is insanity. Among the causes for the declaration, as stated in the resolution, a failure by any of our citizens to acknowledge the prevalence of racism in our community and to join in the fight to eradicate its effects on the majority of our residents is an unwelcomed option. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Listen to that sentence. Listen to what they're saying. A failure by any of our citizens, that's you sitting at home watching the baseball game, to acknowledge the prevalence of racism in their community, and not just to acknowledge, but a failure to join in the fight to eradicate its effects, is an unwelcomed option. So put your bowl of ice cream down, put that cigar out, turn that baseball game off, march out into the streets, and what do you want to do? I don't know what you're going to do about it. I don't know what you can do, how you're going to join in eradicating the effects of racism on people's health. What are these people talking about? This is just rhetoric. And it's forceful rhetoric. This is join in or die rhetoric. We're seeing this more and more from these lefties, these communists, these Marxists. It's the whole silence is consent argument. Silence is violence, they say. Words are violence. Speech is violence. None of this adds up. This does not compute in any realm of logic. Memphis is now one of more than 50 U.S. cities and counties that have passed legislation declaring racism a public health crisis. Racism and health, not the same thing. That's not the same thing. It's like saying it's like saying the temperature of the water in your pool is a global warming crisis. What? They don't have anything to do with each other. I mean, this is like one of those you see people post those nonsensical memes that are just like a bunch of words thrown together and mean absolutely nothing. That is what this is. Oh my God. 50 U.S. cities and counties have passed legislation declaring racism a public health crisis. The declarations are popping up not just in cities, but also in local hospital systems and school districts. Of course, it's popping up in school districts. School districts are indoctrination zones for Marxism, for intersectionalism. They've sprouted in big urban centers, but also suburban and exurban municipalities. How have they gotten so many people to get on board with this? This is what I don't understand. How have so many people allowed themselves to be brainwashed by this utter insane nonsense? I mean, this is... Virtue signals were the seed. This is the plant that grows out of it. They're talking about sprouting. This is virtue signals sprouting across the country. This is Marxism germinating on American soil and overgrowing our nation. This is insanity. In majority minority cities and across every region of the U.S. A cluster of small towns and villages in Connecticut has passed them. Connecticut doesn't have anything but white people. How is Connecticut going to talk about racism being a problem? They've got like 3 black people in the whole fucking state. Next thing you see, Vermont and New Hampshire follow suit. As has the Douglas County School Board and Nebraska. Again, Nebraska. All these places that are passing these ordinances are whiter than Christmas. Whiter than Colombian cocaine. What the fuck? This is all being passed by guilty white supremacists. All of this is the result of people who are actually white supremacists that feel guilty about it, and they want to hide behind their white supremacy by spouting off all of this nonsense that doesn't help anybody, but it shields themselves. And then they'll just as easily turn around and project the blame onto somebody else and then feed them to the wolves. That's what these people are about. Pretty much all of them have come in the forms of resolutions, proclamations, or some other non-binding document, which leaves open the question of what these declarations will actually accomplish. But fucking nothing. This will accomplish nothing. It is a way for them to feel good about doing their part. I am so sick and tired of this shit. But for now, these places are on record stating that racism needs to be treated with the same kind of urgency and resources used for tackling opioid addiction, cigarettes, or as we're presently witnessing the coronavirus pandemic. How do you do that? Propose how you treat racism. Because racism is an amorphous idea. It's the idea that one... How do you combat an idea, for one? An idea is going to exist because people can think it. I think, therefore I am. How do you combat racism? The same way that you would something tangible, like an opioid addiction or an addiction to cigarettes. It doesn't even make sense. These guys are speaking broken English right now. This has got to be written by some... This feels like a Russian troll, okay? You know, for all the talk about Russian trolls, and, you can always tell when it's a Russian troll because it's broken English and nothing they say really makes sense. The syntax is all wrong, and things just don't really quite add up. That's what this is. That's what this is. Public health science is already solidly behind these efforts. Health science. They need to capitalize the S in science here, because this is not science. Public health science means public policy. Let's be dead clear about that. This is political. This has nothing to do with health. This has nothing to do with health care. everything to do with policy and browbeating the idea that we are a racist nation. It's the fucking New York Times 1619 Project run fucking rampant. Which we all know is a lie. All know is a lie. I mean... The public health science is already solidly behind these efforts as a number of health leaders and organizations. Of course, organizations. Whenever you throw the word organizations, it's going to be political. It's not going to be about the actual health. It's going to be about the politics. Have expressed their own recent declarations. A June 10th editorial from New England Journal of Medicine declared that discrimination and racism promote brain disease. What? Accelerate aging and impede vascular and renal function? How does racism, which is basically just an opinion somebody holds, how does an opinion somebody hold promote... I mean, actually, you know what causes real brain disease is fucking communism. I guess this is proof that actually opinions can cause brain disease. Because look at these communist fuckwits. Look at these Marxists. They make zero sense. They're not even specific about what they mean by this. This is all gobbledygook. Does racism promote brain disease in the person who harbors the racist ideas? Or does it telepathically transmute brain disease onto minorities? What the fuck are they talking about? Which produces disproportionate burdens of disease on Black Americans and other minority populations. I understand that there are certain diseases that are more prevalent in certain races. First, that's not racism. That's just genetics. There's nothing we can do about that. Like sickle cell anemia, that doesn't really affect white people. There are certain diseases I know that typically affect, I think, Hasidic Jews or... there are diseases, but that's not what this is about. That's not at all what this is about. Disproportionate burdens. This is about... I know what this is. This is a class thing. This is about people that are not wealthy enough to have whatever cure or whatever health care that they need. But this isn't a racial issue. I mean, go to Appalachia. Talk to some of those white people. This could just as easily refer to them, if I'm interpreting this correctly, which I don't think there's any other way to interpret it which isn't just complete and utter nonsense and gobbledygook bullshit. That's the only way to interpret it, is that this is actually a class issue, and they're completely ignoring the fact that most poor people in this country are white. I'm not saying the proportions are the same, but they're completely ignoring that there is a large poor white community in this country, and they're just as affected. But they need to discount the humanity of all of those poor white people in order to make this argument. You cannot make this argument without cutting the human element out of a large swath of people. Ooh, this is infuriating. This is infuriating. The American Public Health Association and the American Medical Association have also stated that racism falls within their bailiwicks. No, it doesn't. Racism has nothing to do with health. You're a doctor. Do your fucking job. Cure people. Write prescriptions. Do operations. Perform surgeries. Whatever you got to do. I mean, if racism is a problem in the health industry, what does that say about all the doctors in these organizations? What does that say about them? Are they racists? They're going to claim, oh no, we're not racist. We're fighting the fight against racism. But you're saying that your entire system is racist. Are you not? So when you, the doctors, the healthcare professionals, the healthcare organizations, the ones who determine all of this shit, wouldn't you be the racists? The left is always projecting. Such journals and professional networks have historically been complicit in making racism a public health crisis in the first place, particularly with the discrimination and racial fictions they've encoded in U.S. health policies. How about you give us an example? That's one thing that all of this is completely devoid of. An example of what the fuck they're actually talking about. They use it as this catch-all boogie phrase. And they don't explain what they mean by it, and they want to just trigger something in our brains where we say racism is bad, so yeah, we're fighting against the bad, so yeah, this is good. But no. You got to tell me what this means. I actually have a brain that functions and asks questions. I want to know what this means. But they don't give us any of that because it's all utter bullshit. It's all nonsense. Now they are providing the scientific backing and empirical cover cities need to tackle racism on a policy issue today. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're not providing any data or empirical evidence or anything. You're just saying, racism is a cause. We need to fix racism. Politicians, fix that racism for us. Could you be more specific, please? Now they are providing... Oh, God. Tackle racism and policy issue today. And first of all, stay in your lane. Doctors do not need to be talking about city ordinances, city policy, and how whatever that encompasses. I don't even know what that encompasses. I don't even understand this whole systemic institutional racism thing. I don't understand it. Because they don't even explain. Nobody ever explains it. They just use the terminology, use the phraseology, and expect us to just accept it. Either that, or they back it up with lies. Like police are out there gunning down black men at will. Meanwhile, last year we have over 350 million police encounters. You want to know how many unarmed black men were killed in those 350 million encounters? I can count them on my hands. The answer is 9. That doesn't transfix upon any of this message one bit. Oh my God. All right. Where was I? Now they are providing scientific and imperial cities need to tackle racism. Declaration, concrete measures for dismantling it structurally. There's nothing concrete about any of this. This is all some hypothetical. It's not even hypothetical. It's theoretical. It's theoretical with no feet on the ground. No feet on the ground. It's a little thing to declare racism a public health crisis, but it's a stake in the sand. It's a little thing that makes no sense. It's a nothing. It's so little of a thing that it's a nothing. The former APHA president, Kamara Phyllis Jones, said former APHA president, Kamara Phyllis Jones, in a recent webinar, we can develop and disseminate model legislation addressing the many mechanisms of structural racism. What does that mean? And why is this your job as a doctor? To disseminate model legislation addressing the many mechanisms? Name one of them. Put one of them in the fucking article so we have some sort of context of what you're talking about. But they can't do that because they don't know what they're talking about. They just want a virtue signal. I'm a broken record, I get that. But what else can I make of this? It's literally gobbledygook. Designated a public health crisis for black people. So is it only black people that suffer this? Hispanics don't suffer this racism? Jewish people don't suffer this? I mean, does it come in an anti-Semitic variant as well? This is preferential treatment. Preferential treatment and virtue signaling. It's a designation that indicts cities. No, it doesn't, because it doesn't actually it doesn't say anything. Given that these are jurisdictions that are directly oversee police departments and the entities usually responsible for paying for police violence, which, as I already stated, is an incredibly rare occurrence. These declarations, and what does police violence have anything to do with health organizations? Again, stay in your lane. This is Marxism, where it's the totalitarian, where everything is everything. And it just has to infest and gnaw and eat away at every institution, every facet of your life, so you can't ignore it, and it just envelops and consumes you. Consumes society. That is what this is. This isn't racism. This is the idea, the broad concept of racism. Just the growing blob, the blob from the movie, just overgrowing and consuming everything we know of our society and devouring it. That is what this is. That's why they can't be specific about a single fucking thing. Because it's an overarching tool. It's a wedge issue that they use for Marxism. To shoehorn it in. Shove it down our throats. Next thing we know, I already don't recognize this country from when I was a kid. And I'm not that old. And when I say kid, I don't even mean like a little kid. I mean, even in my early 20s. I don't recognize this country anymore. And I mean that by way of the mentality of this country, how we get along, how we think, how we, the freedom. The freedom's gone. In the same way that other groups have modeled legislation to dismantle affirmative action or whatever. Wait. They model legislation to dismantle affirmative action? I mean, I'm all for that. Yeah, dismantle affirmative action. Affirmative action is racist. It's the soft bigotry of low expectations. And setting people up for failure because you're getting them in over their head. While using race as a means to cut other people out of their opportunities. We need to develop model legislation for identifying and addressing the mechanisms of structural racism. How about you give us a fucking example? Because I don't think you understand the mechanisms of structural racism. You just use the terminology. But you don't... Again. And we need to disseminate those across local and state governments as well. The statements from official health organizations on racism include language about the specific harms of police violence, again, not your lane, which the APHA has also designated a public health crisis for black people, despite the fact that more white people are actually killed by the police than black people, especially when you factor in all of the variables like criminality and how 2% of the population, young black men of a certain age commit 50% of the murders and are therefore going to encounter the police more often. Once you factor all that in, it's not a real crisis. This is made up. It's a designation that indicts cities. You've already said that. Given that these are the jurisdictions that oversee police departments I think they've already said that, didn't they? These declarations are springing up right at the intersection of rage against police brutality and the legacy of racist health policies. Yes, there's that right at the intersection. This is all intersectionalism. And the legacy of racist health policies, which they don't mention nan. They don't mention one. Both have rendered black life almost unlivable? Are you fucking kidding me? Rendered black life almost unlivable in America, where we have a sprawling black middle class. We have, oh my God. Guys, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this whole thing. I mean, this is absolutely infuriating. We are the freest, most prosperous society in the history of the world. And they have the gall to say that we have rendered black life almost unlivable? I'm from Atlanta. I used to work in the rap game. I know lots and lots and lots of black people. Lots and lots of black friends. They all seem to be living pretty livably. In fact, most of them were doing a hell of a lot better than I was, financially speaking. And currently under a federal administration... of course, this is an attack on Trump. These commie fucks, man. It's time. It is officially time for Trump to fire up the helicopters. Yes. What officially comes with this is access to funding and other opportunities for collaboration. That just means they want us to pay for their special interest. It's a ripoff. It's a ripoff game. For that, we need to name it. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. For that, we need to name it. That is again one of the tried and true Marxist tactics is using bastardizing language as a way to steal the premise, control the narrative, and force feed the information to people in a way where they cannot spit it back out. Well, guess what? Puh! Spitting it back out. Among governments, Wisconsin is a pioneer in the current approach. In 2017, the Healthiest State Agenda Setting Conference, convened by social justice and health equity advocates from across the state, then you know it's bullshit. If it's convened by social justice and health equity advocates, it's total Marxist nonsense. Led to the Wisconsin Public Health Association declaring racism a top priority. Except it's not. It's so manufactured. It's so manufactured. This association created the Racism is a Public Health Crisis sign-on petition, which has been adopted by dozens of health organizations and local government bodies, including the Madison Metropolitan School District, of course, University of Wisconsin, of course, the City of Madison, and the City and County of Milwaukee, which were the first local governments in the U.S. to make the declaration last year. How long is this? Oh my fuck, this is long. Oh god. All right, I'm going to try to keep going a little bit further into this, but this is absolutely just, I mean, to see that this is what America has come to, that these are the conversations we're having. It's really sad. Pittsburgh followed suit, passing a similar resolution in December. While the Wisconsin model focuses almost squarely on racial health disparities, fuck it, I'm done. This is absolute garbage. This is absolute nonsense. And what this is going to mean is that our entire healthcare system is going to be remade along racial lines. This is not going to benefit the healthcare system one bit. It's going to make it worse. It's going to, I mean, I'm so dumbfounded. I got stupid at reading this. I now have a lower IQ than when I started this article. And I'm not saying I was brilliant when I came into this. I lost IQ points I couldn't afford to lose reading this bullshit. Anyways, guys, if you want to read the rest of this, I guarantee you it's just more of this infuriating nonsense. You pretty much get the gist of it, though. You pretty much get what all this is coming down to. I'm out. I mean, there's. If our nation keeps going this way, I am getting seriously concerned that civil war is an inevitability. If this is the direction that our country is going, where even our healthcare system gets overrun by this Marxist ideology, this intersectionalism, it doesn't matter whether it's built on truth or lies. It's about furthering the political power. And this is going to engender power within the healthcare industry that is likely going to result in them determining whether or not you get healthcare, whether you get certain services, or whether you have to wait in line to get services, whether somebody gets preferential treatment to services above you. And this, I mean, all of this, there comes a point you can only be so anti-racist before you become racist yourself. It comes full circle. It comes full circle. It always does. That's what I mentioned the other day, that video about, I still forget the guy's name. Here, let me look it up real quick. Actually, no, I'm not. It's gonna mess up the screen. This comedian did a bit, where he had one guy wearing a shirt that said woke and the other guy wearing a shirt that said racist, and it turned out that they just agreed on everything. They were the best of friends. Because eventually, You go too far, you come full circle. And that's what this is going to lead to. So, this is extremely, extremely disheartening to see that even our medical healthcare system is falling prey to this. And I just hope that something happens. And it reminds me of this old South Park episode where after the episode, these two hick farmers they're just kind of sitting back watching everything unfold, and they're just posted up on the fence like, well, looks like everything's getting real PC again. Yep, how long did it last time? Oh, it was a good 10 years last time. We got a good another 9 years, 8 months left before this PC ends. That's how it works. That's how it works. But political correctness is the tool of Marxism, communism, and eventually globalism. So, anyways, guys, I'm not going to say I hoped you liked this video because you're probably as infuriated as I am right now, but I hope it opened your eyes to the severity of the intersectional Marxist problem that we have in this country and what the stakes really are in our current culture wars, because we won't survive this if we continue to let this fester. So anyways, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I notice a lot of the people that watch don't subscribe, but I really could use the subscribers. I'm still a pretty young channel trying to get started out here. Hit the like button. That also helps. The algorithm is always working against me in the things that I talk about. So hit the like button, subscribe, drop a comment. Let me know what you think of the video. Let me know what you think I got right, what I get wrong, what else you'd like to hear me talk about. Also, don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Parler at Ram Thorburn. And if you would like to help contribute to this channel, help get old Ram out of the poorhouse, go ahead and you can find links to my Subscribestar, Patreon, and PayPal in the description below. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope y'all have a very good night.